Hi, Dr. Adriana Popescu here, and this is tool number 1 in my favorite tools for coping with anxiety. It's called tapping or EFT. What is that? So originally there was a guy named Roger Callahan. He was a psychologist, and he was looking at ways he could help his clients, particularly those that had PTSD and trauma, deal with anxiety because they had a lot of it. And he started studying acupuncture and sort of fell upon tapping as a way to stimulate acupuncture points. And he found that not only did that create people having their physical symptoms mitigating, like he was working with a lady who had some sort of stomach pain. He found that when he treated her with acupressure or tapping for that stomach pain, her phobia, her long-standing phobia that he'd been doing traditional talk therapy for about a year, working with her on that magically disappeared. So he started looking at how can we clear the energies of trauma, of anxiety, of depression, of any number of different thoughts, feelings, emotions, traumas, different things using this acupressure technique. And so that's how thought field therapy was born. He started teaching classes in it. His students later took the tapping and evolved it into their own variations on it. And the version that is most popular today, so that all started probably about 30 years ago. What you're seeing a lot of today is EFT or emotional freedom techniques, and that's what I'm going to show you today. EFT was developed by a guy named Gary Craig. There are any number of different acupuncture points that you can use, but I'm just going to give you the most basic recipe or version of tapping. So, how do you tap on something when you're anxious? The easiest way to tap it, you don't even actually need words. Callahan's original version actually didn't have words. So you can tap through a series of points, and that's going to help calm your nervous system down. What we now know is after 100 published research studies, we know that tapping stimulates the part of your brain that's responsible for emotions, the amygdala. The amygdala is also involved in that fight, flight, freeze response that I was telling you about in the intro video. So what we want to do is get our body, when we're anxious and revved up, we want to get our body calmed down. We want to get out of sympathetic nervous system arousal and into parasympathetic or the relaxed state. So how we're going to do that is basically by thinking about whatever it is that's upsetting us and tapping on that, on the different points while we're thinking about the upset. So if we were doing tapping with no words, okay, we would think about, let's say you're nervous about an upcoming job interview, right? So when you think about that job interview, what do you notice happens inside, right? Maybe you get butterflies in your belly. Maybe your palms get sweaty. Maybe you notice your breath gets short and maybe shallow breathing, right? Your heart races. You can't really think straight, okay? So those are some of the physical signs of anxiety. And then mentally, what's going on in your head? What are you thinking when you're thinking about the job interview? Maybe you're imagining, oh my God, I'm going to say something stupid, or they're going to think I'm not qualified for the job, or I'm going to stutter and stumble on my words, whatever it is, right? You're imagining some bad thing is going to happen. And then that's going to create emotion. It's going to create fear. It's going to create anxiety. It's going to create maybe even panic. Maybe you remember other times when you had job interviews that didn't go well and you feel some embarrassment or shame around it. All kinds of emotions can come up around this. So you want to just focus on whatever those different thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations are, okay? And then you tap through a series of points, okay? So you start with the karate chop point, which is the side of your hand here, okay? Then you go to the inside of the eyebrow. That's literally like where the eyebrow meets the bridge of your nose. There's even a little groove there in the bone that you can tap on. So inside eyebrow. Side of the eye, right here. And the little groove part again of the bone. It's really essentially your temple area. Okay. Under the eye. Under the nose, right between the nose and the lip. On the chin, really like in that little cleft part of the chin under the lip. collarbone, which you can see here, this is my collarbone. I'm actually going slightly underneath the collarbone, kind of in that space between the collarbone and the rib underneath it. Okay, so collarbone. Now you can do one hand, two hands. It really doesn't matter. You could alternate. You could do it simultaneously. Doesn't matter. Under the arm. So if you go from your armpit about 4 inches down and even a little bit forward, if you kind of poke around there, you're going to find a sore spot. On most people, this is a sore spot. Okay. And you tap on that point as well. Ladies, this would be on your bra strap line. Okay. And then we go to the top of the head. Now, there are many other points you could be tapping on. If you look at other videos, people might be tapping on points down here, finger points. There are points on the legs. There are any number, because the acupuncture meridians run throughout your body, from your feet all the way through the different internal organs up to the top of your head and down and out your arms. So you can access an acupuncture meridian, that particular pathway that the energy flows upon. You can access it through any number of points. So that's the really basic tapping, no words, okay? More like Callahan's original TFT. Now, if you wanted to add the words, it can be very helpful, because now you're tapping on the very specific parts of the stressor. And what we want to do with tapping is we first want to tap on all the negative stuff, all the fears, anxieties, that sick feeling in your stomach, the tightening of the chest. We want to tap on all of that stuff first until the stress level comes down. And how we measure the stress level is on a scale from 0 to 10. Very easy. On a scale of 0 to 10, how intense is that anxiety right now? Let's say it's an 8, okay? Once that stress level starts to come down, then what we want to do is start tapping on the possibility of this changing, and eventually, with subsequent rounds of tapping, we want to tap on the positive. So instead of feeling anxious about that job interview tomorrow, I want to feel calm and confident and be totally at peace around the whole process, whatever happens, right? We would want to be tapping on instilling the positives, because tapping isn't just about eliminating negatives. We also can instill the positives, okay? So that might look, a typical tapping script for anxiety might look something like this. Okay, so we start with tapping on that karate chop point 3 times, and we say a statement that takes that negative problem and pairs it up with something positive. So even though I have this anxiety right now, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. That was the original setup phrase that Gary Craig used. What I have found in my work with clients is that not everybody buys into that idea that I love and accept myself. So you tap on whatever you can buy into. So it might be, even though I have this anxiety, I accept myself anyways. Even though I have this anxiety, I'm choosing to work through it and let it go. Even though I have this anxiety, I know it's not good for me, and I'm going to work on being more calm instead. Whatever configuration of words works for you so that you can start to feel more at ease. So let's say I'm just going to use even though I'm feeling all this anxiety about tomorrow's job interview, I accept myself anyway. And I'm basically going to repeat that 3 times. Even though I have this anxiety about that job interview, I accept myself anyways. And even though I have this anxiety about that job interview, I accept myself anyways. Okay? And then we start tapping through the points, dealing with the different aspects that came up when we were thinking about how does this feel in my body, what am I thinking, and what am I feeling. So it might go something like this. Okay, all this anxiety about the interview, side of the eye. I'm really worried I'm going to mess it up. Under the eye, I can feel the butterflies in my stomach. Under the nose, my chest is really tight. On the chin, all this anxiety. It's making me so stressed out. I'm worried I'm not going to get this job. I've not been so successful with other job interviews before. I don't do very well with them. Okay? And we might pause there, because that's considered a round of tapping through all the points. We could pause there, or we could keep going, either way. But let's pause and take a deep breath or two. We always want to end a round of tapping with a deep breath. Okay, so let's say my anxiety started off at a level 8, and after doing that initial round of tapping, it's come down a bit. I'm down to a 6, okay? That's what we want, because now what's happening is the tapping is basically saying, okay, yes, I'm thinking about all these stressful things, but hey, body, you can calm down. You don't need to have that panic reaction, okay? There's all this different stuff that goes on with our vagus nerve. There's a whole lot of biology behind tapping and why it works. I'm not going to get into all that here, but there's a lot of science that validates how this is working. We can see in the research studies the adrenaline levels, the cortisol levels come down, the feel-good chemicals kick in, like your dopamine, your serotonin, even your endorphins, your feel-good chemicals. So that response starts to happen when the stress level comes down, okay? Now you can have, after a round or two of tapping, you could get the anxiety level going up. That's okay. It's normal. It just means you're tapping into the issue on a deeper level. It might be like an iceberg, and you've hit sort of the initial pieces, but then there's more underneath. So let's say after doing a round of tapping, my stress level went up to 9. Then I have to ask myself, okay, what's making it go to a 9? Oh, okay. I remember that last interview I had where I completely messed up and I didn't get the job, and I'm remembering that. So then I have to tap on that, right? I'm remembering that other job interview. I did such a bad job. I totally embarrassed myself. I said stupid things. I'm really afraid I'm going to do that again, blah, blah, blah. You keep working with that until the stress level comes down, okay? So with anxiety, you want to tap on all those different sensations, right? So the butterflies in my belly, my heart is racing, I can't breathe. Then you want to tap on the thoughts you're having. I'm worried I'm going to mess it up. They're going to hate me. They're going to think I'm not good enough for this job, right? Then we are tapping on the feelings, the emotions. I feel scared. I feel panicked. I'm embarrassed about how I interview, whatever it may be, okay? Until that stress level comes down to a more manageable level. And then a lot of times you can start using other tools, like you can start reality checking yourself. You could do some of the stuff they do in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is where you weigh out the evidence. Well, what proof do I have that I'm going to fail at this interview? I've actually had a lot of interviews that went really well. Oh, I'm forgetting about that. So what's the evidence that I have for and against this idea that I'm going to mess it up or something bad is going to happen? Okay, but it's really hard to access your logical thinking mind when you're in that activated, I think of it like a thermometer. If we had a stress thermometer, when you're in that red zone and you're in that full-blown fight, flight, freeze response, all logical thinking goes out the window. At that point, you're just in pure panic, right? So, and that's the time, I work with a lot of drug and alcohol clients, and that's the time when they're usually going to their drug of choice because they've learned that that's like the only way they can calm themselves down. But one of the things I teach my addicted clients is that actually this works a lot faster. You could do a couple rounds of tapping. That stress level comes down way faster than a drink or a pill or something else is going to take, as long as it takes to have an effect. So if you want to find out more, there are lots of websites. You have EFT Universe is a great one. Emo Free was the original Gary Craig's website, emofree.com. And then, of course, you are welcome to check out my website, adrianapopescu.org. And if you want to work on something a little bit more in depth, you're welcome to book a session with me as well. I work with people from all over the world. I work in person at my office in San Francisco and also online with video or phone or whatever. So if you'd like to find out more, check me out at my website. Thank you.